Haunting truth, Japanese soldiers encountered bone-chilling man-eating beasts in the jungle. Now the jungle was alive with sinister whispers as the sun began to set. Shadows stretched and twisted like the souls of the damned. Soldiers, weary and worn, moved cautiously through the oppressive heat, their skin slick with sweat. The air was thick, humid with the scent of damp earth and decay. Suddenly, a bone-chilling howl echoed, sending shivers down their spines. It was a sound unlike any they had ever heard, raw, primal, and filled with a hunger that made their hearts race. What creature could make such a terrifying noise? They exchanged fearful glances, their eyes wide with panic. As they pressed further into the foliage, something rustled nearby. The brush quivered, and a grotesque figure emerged, a dark silhouette, eyes glinting like shards of glass in the fading light. It was massive, its muscles rippling under its matted fur. The soldiers froze, breath hitching in their throats. Was it even real? Stories had floated among the ranks, tales of people disappearing without a trace, stories of beasts that feasted on their very souls. Each fragment of gossip wound tighter around their minds, squeezing them with dread. But then came the unmistakable scent of fresh blood, tainting the air with its metallic tang. The soldiers felt an invisible noose tighten, the jungle itself pressing in around them. Could they have found the blood of the missing? The hairs on the back of their necks stood on end, terror clawing at their insides. Every instinct screamed at them to run, yet they were rooted in place, compelled by the unknown. Just then, distant screams pierced through the dense trees, cutting through their fear like a hot knife through butter. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The sound of crunching leaves sent them into a frenzy. Something unseen was stalking them. Their eyes darted around, dark shadows flickering between the trunks of ancient trees. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the chaos stopped. The jungle fell silent. Cold panic gripped each man's heart. They weren't alone. They could feel it, lurking just out of sight. Suddenly, a guttural growl echoed from the shadows, vibrating through the very ground beneath their feet. The hair stood up on their arms as the unmistakable sound of clawed feet approached. The question hung heavily in the air: what lay beyond the darkness waiting for them, and would they ever escape this nightmare? Every heartbeat echoed like a drum in the oppressive quiet as the soldiers stared into the void of darkness. Claws scraped the ground, sounding like nails on a chalkboard, too close for comfort. The soldiers instinctively tightened their grips on their weapons, knuckles going white beneath the wear of their stress. With trembling breaths, they gathered into a tight huddle, heightened senses straining to catch any sign of movement. One of them, Private Takumi, peered into the thick underbrush. He felt a mixture of terror and determination flood his veins. "We need to stay calm," he whispered, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "Calm? When that thing's out here?" whispered Corporal Matsuda, his eyes darting from shadow to shadow. "What do we do, Takumi?" Before Takumi could reply, the air changed. A palpable energy filled the space, heavy and electric. The silence shattered like glass as a figure lunged from the shadows, massive and terrifying. Fur bristled against moonlight, and eyes glowed with a hungry predatory glance. Instinctively, the soldiers raised their weapons, terrified yet mesmerized. "Open fire!" bellowed Sergeant Nakamura, unleashing the first volley. Gunfire erupted, shattering the calm night, rippling through the jungle like a thunderclap. Bullets found their mark, but the creature roared defiantly. It staggered but didn't fall, it merely turned its glowing orbs upon them, an uncanny gaze that seemed to penetrate their very souls. "Fall back! Fall back!" shouted Takumi, the tears of panic filling his eyes. In chaotic retreat, they stumbled over roots, the undergrowth pulling them back like greedy fingers. With each step, they heard the thunder of pursuit, the creature's massive form crashing through the forest. "It's following us!" screamed one of the men, despair lacing every word. Triumph turned to horror as they burst into a small clearing. Moonlight bathed them, illuminating twisted trees and fluttering leaves, but their senses remained tightly bound to the menace stalking them. Panting, they formed a circle with their backs to each other, a shaky fortress against the impending doom. "Where do we go?" Matsuda whimpered, heart racing, eyes wild, scanning their surroundings for escape. The sounds were too close, the growls too guttural. "Look!" Takumi pointed. There was a dilapidated hut at the edge of the clearing, a remnant of some long-forgotten past. "In there. It might provide shelter." Without a second thought, they dashed toward it, the boards creaking underfoot as they entered. A darkness enveloped them, echoing the despair creeping into their hearts. Takumi fumbled for a flashlight in his pack, flooding the tiny space with a beam of weak, shaking light. Faces twisted in fear, revealing deep lines of sweat and dirt. "What if it finds us?" whispered one soldier, panic rising in his throat. They huddled together. The silence in the hut contrasted sharply with the chaos outside. Time seemed to stretch as they listened to the creature prowling. The growls grew louder, more persistent. But then they heard something else, a strange rustling, not from the creature but from deeper inside the hovel. It was a sound that shouldn't be there, a sound that hinted they were not alone. "What's that?" Matsuda whispered, staring wide-eyed at the dark corners of the cabin. Suddenly, a shadow shifted in the light's glow, revealing a face twisted, hollowed, and desperate. A survivor? Or something far worse? Before they could comprehend what they were seeing, a scream split the air outside, snapping their attention back to the jungle, where they still needed to escape but who had let the creature in. As the noise surged outside, they realized the horrifying question: was this haunted jungle waiting for more than just their escape? Or had they stumbled into a horror deeper than they could ever fathom? The thrumming heartbeat of the jungle grew louder, setting the stage for the next revelation that awaited them on the other side of the door. The rustling, once just a whisper in the shadows, transformed into an unsettling cacophony. Takumi's heart raced as he focused the beam of his flashlight deeper into the hut. The face he saw was gaunt and wide-eyed, framed by wild, unkempt hair. Something like recognition flickered through it, yet it was laced with madness. "Who are you?" Takumi stammered, desperate to keep his voice steady as the others pushed closer together, fear etched on their features. Instead of answering, the survivor, a frail figure seeming to collapse into itself, pointed toward the back of the hut. A doorway led to a pitch-black cellar below, and a chilling draft wafted up, thick with the smell of decay. "Don't go down there!" shouted Matsuda, the real terror dawning on him. "That's what it wants. It's a trap." The survivor's lips curled into a twisted smile as he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "The jungle loves the darkness. It feeds on the fear." Outside, the growls finally surfaced, a horrible promise. The creature was restless, close enough that Takumi could feel the ground thrum in rhythm with its heart, an echo of primal dread. Suddenly, another scream pierced the air. Shouts of sheer terror cut through the night, and a soldier bolted back outside, ripping the door off its hinges. "No! We can't stay here." The chaos surged back, pushing Takumi's group toward a decision point. Fight or flee? Stay here and die, or go out and face it, Serafino, another soldier, muttered, his voice thick. "Damn it, we're not equipped for this, not like this." The survivor began to laugh, the sound scraping at Takumi's frazzled nerves. "You think you can run from it? The jungle has eyes everywhere. It knows, it sees." A bark-like growl cut his words short. The creature was near now, the brush of its body against the walls as if it played with its food. Adrenaline roared through Takumi like wildfire. They couldn't remain trapped in that rotting hut with madness lurking in the corner and an unseen predator waiting just outside. "Put him down!" Takumi shouted, gesturing toward the survivor, who floated between sanity and nightmare. "We can't pull that darkness in with us." But before they could act, the ground shook with the creature's immense weight as it slammed into the hut. The walls quaked like fragile bones. Dust rained down as the survivor screamed, his voice high and frantic, "You don't know what it is. You don't know." With a violent crash, the creature barreled through the door, wood splintering and chaos exploding into the dim light. Its massive form filled the space, teeth bared in a savage snarl. "Run!" shouted Takumi, shoving his friends aside. The soldier who had fled earlier was gone, swallowed by the monstrous darkness that now engulfed them. It was a fight blurring into flight, and none knew what survival would mean: face the darkness or be consumed by it. As they sprinted away from the horror inside the hut, the jungle opened its monstrous arms, shadows reaching out. And in that moment, Takumi caught a flicker of something in the distance, another figure in the dark, watching. Was it friend or foe? What waited for them beyond the veil of trees? If they made it through the night, would the darkness offer them any solace? Or was the jungle's embrace tightening ever more around them? They stumbled into the night, fate glimmering as uncertain and jagged as the thorns around them, rushing toward an uncertain destiny that lay just ahead. The jungle loomed around them, a dark, living entity. The cacophony of chirping insects and rustling leaves wrapped around Takumi and his companions like a suffocating blanket, drowning out any semblance of reason. Heart pounding, Takumi turned to see if anyone had fallen behind. "Matsuda! Serafino!" he hissed, but the jungle swallowed his words, leaving only a shadow of their urgency. The flickering beam of his flashlight barely pierced the oppressive darkness, revealing twisted vines and sinister shapes lurking just out of sight. Behind them, the roar of the creature reverberated like thunder, a promise of violence that set their nerves on fire. They ran, feet pounding against the jungle floor littered with debris. It felt as if the earth beneath them was alive, shifting in rhythm with the monstrous heartbeat that echoed in the distance. "Where do we go?" Matsuda shouted, breathless, panic edging into his voice. "Find a clearing. We can't go deeper in." Takumi barked back, desperation lending strength to his words. He glanced back, catching a glimpse of that huge shadow moving through the trees. It was impossibly fast, gliding through the darkness, hunting them. The trio stumbled forward, limbs flailing as they dodged sharp branches and clinging vines. Suddenly, the beam of the flashlight caught another figure, standing still in the shadow of a massive tree. Takumi froze. It was a young girl, no more than 10, with eyes wide and fearful. "Help me!" she cried, her voice a trembling echo in the void. "Stay back!" Takumi shouted, but it was too late. Matsuda had already taken a step closer, his outstretched hand trembling. "No, Matsuda. It could be a trap." But Matsuda's gaze was captivated by the child, the innocence of her plea pulling him in like a moth to flame. The creature's growl rumbled louder, and Takumi's instincts screamed. He dove and grabbed Matsuda, yanking him back just as a shadow darted from the underbrush, snatching the girl and dragging her into the darkness. Her scream sliced through the air, echoing the sheer terror that hung over them like a cloud. "No!" Matsuda fell to his knees, hands clutching his head, horror-struck. The monster was close. Takumi could feel the heat radiating from its beastly form, the stench of decay enveloping them as it broke through the last of the foliage. Its eyes glowed like burning coals, fixating on Matsuda. "Get up, damn it!" Takumi yelled. The urgency brought Matsuda back to reality. They pushed up, stumbling away from the predatory gaze. As they barreled into a small clearing, an eerie silence blanketed them, the kind that made the blood run cold. Shadows danced at the edges, and for a moment, the jungle seemed to hold its breath. "What now?" Serafino gasped, scanning the dense foliage that circled them. "Find something to defend yourself," Takumi started, but the ground shook again with the force of the creature's approach. It was more than they could bear. Suddenly, surrounded by fear and uncertainty, Takumi spotted a scattering of jagged rocks nearby. "Over here." He shouted, eyeing the stones as makeshift weapons. But the growl turned deeper, vibrating the very air around them. It sounded satisfied, as though it was savoring the fear it spread. The realization struck Takumi the creature was playing with them, hurting them, savoring the hunt. They grabbed rocks and stood ready, chests heaving. What had begun as a mission to uncover the jungle's secrets had twisted into a nightmare. Would they become part of the darkness? And then, out of the corner of his eye, Takumi saw it. Another figure, this one wearing military garb, emerged from the trees behind them. It wasn't just any soldier, it was one that had gone missing weeks before. "Help us!" Takumi shouted, but instead, the figure merely stared, empty-eyed, as if he was already lost to the jungle. The growl came closer. Is it too late? Takumi wondered, the chilling realization that the jungle wasn't just alive, it was hungry. As it closed in, one thought burned in his mind: what did it mean to fight back against a darkness that knew them so intimately? In that moment, shadows shifted, a cold wind swept through the clearing, leaving Takumi with one haunting question: were they truly ready to face whatever nightmare came next? The shadows around them contracted, growing darker and more menacing as the growl crescendoed into a roar. Takumi could see Matsuda's hands trembling, fingers pale against the jagged rock he clutched. Serafino's eyes darted around, seeking an escape as if the jungle itself was closing in. What the hell is that? Matsuda gasped, breath quickening. I don't know. Takumi lied, though the horror etched in his memory had names. It was the same creature that haunted reports, a thing of nightmare, a being born from stories whispered among the soldiers. The figure in military garb remained unmoving, pupils dilated and face blank. Takumi's heart raced, a beat of dread pounding in his chest, drowned out by the rhythm of terror clawing at the air. Stay close, Takumi whispered, each word a layer of steel over their fear. The military man, now vague in his past significance, sent a shiver through Takumi. He not himself, as if sensing the tremor of their resolve. The growl morphed into something else, a rumbling laugh, dark and guttural. Takumi's insides twisted. The creature was near, and it reveled in their fear. Are you ready? Serafino asked, though it sounded more like a prayer. Ready or not, Takumi replied. They spread into a half-circle, rocks poised, hearts pounding. The air thickened, the tension escalating into something palpable. A heavy thud echoed through the clearing, and suddenly, a flash of eyes appeared just beyond the trees, burning like twin fires. The creature emerged, impossibly large, its muscular body rippling under the faint light. Each movement was deliberate, predatory. In 3-2 Serafino counted, voice shaky. Wait! Matsuda cried, but Takumi was past listening. Now! Takumi shouted as they hurled the rocks, hoping to distract it. They struck its hide, but the beast barely flinched, only briefly turning its gaze to the trio, eyes narrowing in calculated rage. Run! Takumi yelled, and they bolted, footfalls pounding against the earth. But the jungle twisted around them, vines snaring their feet, leaden roots clutching at their ankles. Thick fog rolled in, disorienting them. The screams of unseen creatures filled the air, cries that seemed to mimic their fear. Takumi stopped, fighting against the instinct to flee. If they kept running blindly, they'd only get lost or worse. Split up. He urged. We'll confuse it, no. Matsuda gripped Takumi's arm. We can't, but the decision was made. Takumi shoved Matsuda toward Serafino. We'll find each other. Just go. With a heart clenched tight with fear, Takumi dashed away, the jungle swallowing him whole. He glanced back to see Matsuda hesitate, more lost than ever. Then, one empty scream rammed through the stillness behind him. It wasn't just a beast anymore. Something deep and wrong surged through the jungle, hunting the breath of men. Adrenaline surged, pushing him deeper into the nightmare. He heard the creature's heavy breathing behind him, each inhale a promise of doom. Distant shadows danced cruelly in his flashlight's beam, and every crack of a twig sent him spiraling into panic. God, where are you? He whispered to himself, his voice shaky. But the jungle thrummed with hidden things. Takumi could feel them watching, lurking at the edge of sight. The thought of the missing soldier clung to him, a grotesque reminder of what awaited anyone who stayed too long. Is this how it ends? The question crashed into him, even as he sprinted forward. Lightning flickered, a momentary flare illuminating gnarled faces in the foliage, a twisted mockery of human form. Takumi stumbled, falling to his knees, breathing hard. And just as doubt began to creep in, something else reached out, a flicker of hope. Then, suddenly, silence. The kind that felt like the jungle had paused, holding its breath. Before Takumi could think, a shriek shattered the stillness. It was Serafino. Help! Takumi's heart plummeted. He shot up, the urge to run overridden by desperation. He charged toward the sound, but the jungle roared back, vines tightening around him, a smothering embrace. Serafino! Takumi cried, but the darkness closed in again, dragging his words into the abyss. How many more would fall prey to whatever hunted them? The beating of Takumi's heart thundered in his ears as he clawed at the undergrowth, racing toward an uncertain confrontation. But just as he rounded a colossal tree, he stumbled into a glade. What lay before him froze his blood. A circle of soldiers, all lost like the man he'd seen earlier. Eyes glazed over, faces like masks. Come join us, they whispered in eerie unison. Takumi's pulse quickened. Were they too late? And what darkness held them captive within the jungle's depths? He could only wonder as he stepped forward, a dawning horror flooding his senses. What he feared most now loomed ahead, the hunt was far from over. The air thickened with a stench so vile it clawed at Takumi's throat as he stepped hesitantly into the glade. The soldiers once proud, noble, alive were now mere shells, puppets dancing to a melody of despair. Their whispers slid through the haze like icicles, cold and unnerving. Come join us. Shock poured through Takumi, a freezing wave that left him paralyzed at the edge of the clearing. Sweat dripped down his brow, mingling with the terror coursing through his veins. He bobbed his head side to side, willing himself to snap out of it, to see the truth. But he only saw despair mirrored in their vacant stares, pupils dull and lifeless. The echoes of Serafino's scream echoed again in his mind. He had to move. Hey! He shouted, desperation leaking from his voice. Wake up! He stepped forward, heart racing, but those entranced figures continued their chant. An unsettling rustle behind him jerked him back to the reality of the jungle. The growl returned, deeper and closer, vibrating through the ground. He could feel the weight of it pressing on his chest, making it hard to breathe. Takumi turned but kept his eyes on the soldiers, every nerve within him screamed to turn back, to run. Get away from them! He yelled, raising his flashlight, its beam flickering and weak against the encroaching darkness. He could see the creature's bulk slipping through the foliage, a beast of nightmares creeping ever so closer. With a burst of adrenaline, Takumi lunged backward. The figure of the creature sharpened in his flashlight's glow, a twisted maw full of glistening teeth, lined with blood, nearly swallowing the shadows. It stopped, eyes boring into him. Was it recognizing him? Takumi stumbled back, closer to the entranced soldiers. No, no. The horror rushed back in waves. He couldn't let them fall into that dark lull. Fight it. He pleaded, though he knew the futility of it, but something shifted in their eyes. A flicker of awareness, like a faint flame struggling against an unforgiving wind. Takumi's heart raced. Could they still be saved? Serafino. Matsuda. He called, the names reverberating against the mass of foliage. We're not lost. We can get out of here. There was a pause, taut and shivering. A hushed whisper broke through from a soldier, reaching his ears like a sliver of hope. Help! It wasn't just a word. It was a plea raw and desperate. Without thinking, Takumi backed toward the soldiers. Grab my hand. We can break free together. He reached out, finding every quivering limb he could. The force of the creature surged forward, sending a ripple of fear through the glade. The remaining soldiers jerked, swatting at some unseen force. The beast roared, fur bristling, as if sensing the shift in resolve. No. Takumi backed up against a tree, the soldiers surrounding him, albeit sluggishly. We can't let it take you. His voice broke, echoing against the looming dread hanging over the air. Just as he felt the soldiers grasp his arms, tightening like vines, an invisible surge shot through them. A flicker of something familiar flashed in their eyes. But behind them, the beast lunged with a wrathful shriek, jaws snapping. Takumi dug in his feet, pulling with everything he had. The soldier's grip tightened, transforming from limp to determined. Come on! Takumi shouted, fighting against the monstrous force. The soldiers hesitated, and just like that, he felt the ground beneath rise, a quaking tremor shaking the glade. From above, branches appeared to come alive, swaying and weaving like they too wanted to escape the beast. Now! Takumi shouted, his voice cracking with urgency as he surged forward, pulling the soldiers with him. They stumbled, but he didn't stop. He could hear the beast's breath hot against his neck, could sense its fury rising. Will they break free before the darkness swallows them whole? Or would this jungle claim more lost souls today? The chase was far from over and their battle was only beginning. Takumi looked ahead, hoping against hope that a way out truly lay before them. As he sprinted deeper into the tangled roots and thorns, he could only wonder, what price would they pay to escape the clutches of the hunt? The jungle swallowed their screams, the cacophony of branches snapping and leaves rustling drumming into Takumi's ears. Each frantic step pounded against the earth like a countdown. The beast's growl morphed into a snarl, echoing through the dense foliage, a reminder of the terror hot on their heels. Faster! Takumi urged, feeling the weight of the soldiers still shackled by shadows. But they rallied, newfound determination glinting in their eyes. Matsuda stumbled, nearly collapsing, and Takumi reached back, pulling him upright. Stay with me. We're not done yet. The trees stretched and twisted, ancient sentinels watching the chaos unfold. Sunlight was a distant memory, swallowed whole by the canopy. Suddenly, the ground gave a violent shake beneath their feet. Startled, they exchanged wide-eyed glances. What is happening? Matsuda gasped, breathless. Just keep moving. Takumi barked, pushing them forward. But then he saw its roots snaked across the ground, writhing like serpents, blocking their path. No, no, no. He gripped Matsuda's shoulder and turned him back, confusion swirling in his gut. We can't stop. There has to be a way through. That's when the whispering began again, a haunting melody slipping into their minds. It slinked through the glade, wrapping itself around their hearts, beckoning them to surrender. Takumi felt the flicker of doubt creeping in, trying to suffocate their resolve, but then a soldier, the one he hadn't noticed among the throng, began to sway. Maybe we could rest. His voice trailed off, lost in the dreamy haze that swirled around them. No! Takumi shouted, grabbing the man's arm tightly. You can't let it take you. Remember why we're here. Remember the mission. But the man's eyes glazed over, a void taking hold of his spirit. Serafino! Takumi called, his voice rising, pushing through the fog that held them captive. Fight it. You're soldiers. We face our fears, we don't submit to them. The soldier blinked, confusion momentarily overcasting the darkness. There was a flicker of hope flickering. Hurry! A voice shouted from the back, a young sergeant, red-faced and frantic. We're being surrounded. Takumi directed the group with urgency, not allowing that flicker to extinguish. Follow me. We'll find a way. There has to be an escape. They moved together, a ragged band against the luring hum of longing. Then, there it was, a break in the trees ahead, pierced by a sickly light. It seemed to dance, promising safety. The soldiers rushed forward, hearts racing fiercely, but the beast was relentless, its howls piercing the air, filled with rage. Suddenly, the bushes exploded as it barreled through, claws bared, eyes glowing with sheer hunger. "Run!" Takumi screamed again, adrenaline surging through his veins. As they broke through the trees, Takumi felt the bitter taste of fear on his tongue. But wonder surged through him when he saw an ethereal stream flowing in the low light. It sparkled, calling to them as if the water knew of their desperation. "Over there." He pointed. "If we reach the stream, maybe it can save us from the beast." The soldiers surged towards it, hope threading through their fear. But the beast was close behind, its howl drowning out reason, vicious jaws snapping at the tails of their fleeing shadows. Would the stream truly offer salvation, or was it another cruel trick? As Takumi dove toward the water, heart pounding, he felt the ground tremble once more. Would this plunge be their last desperate gasp? The question hung heavy in the air, an unanswered prayer swirling among the dense fog, as the soldiers crashed toward the shimmering pool, hearts racing against the darkened dread that loomed ever closer. The air rushed by Takumi, cold and damp as he hurtled towards the stream. Desperation clawed at his heart, and he couldn't shake the feeling that every moment could be their last. The shimmer of water ahead beckoned like a beacon, but the chilling howl of the beast echoed menacingly, urging them closer to panic. "Jump!" he shouted, breaking through the brush. With a splat, he hit the water, the cold shocking his system, seeping through his uniform, an icy reminder of the immediate danger. He turned quickly, gripping the riverbank, eyes darting back. Matsuda leaped in after him, followed closely by the others, splashing desperately as they struggled to gain footing. The beast emerged from the undergrowth, a dark shape against the forest's chaos. It paused, nostrils flaring, feasting on their scent, eyes glimmering with unfathomable hunger. Takumi saw the realization dawn on the soldiers: there would be no escape, not without a fight. "Form a line," he commanded, the instinct of leadership igniting through his shared fear. "We can't let it get to the water's edge." The soldiers huddled together in a trembling front, hearts pounding in unison. The beast crouched low, its muscles coiling, readying for an explosive charge. Takumi's breath hitched in his throat, and the world around him slowed, every detail sharpening like a blade. Then, in an explosion of movement, the creature lunged toward them, jaws agape. "Now!" Takumi yelled, the urgency spilling from his soul. The men raised makeshift weapons, sticks, rocks, anything they could find. The moment felt suspended, a clash of primal fear and desperate hope. When the beast collided with the water's edge, it snarled in fury, flinging debris as it reared back. The shimmering surface rippled violently, reflecting the chaos. But to Takumi's horror, he noticed something. The water wasn't just a refuge, it pulsed like a living entity, drawing them in as if hungry for their souls. "Hold on!" he cried out, clutching Matsuda's arm. "Stay together." He fought against the pull of the stream, struggling to keep the soldiers anchored, but the current was potent. Takumi Matsuda's voice trembled, fear coursing through him. "What is this place?" Before Takumi could answer, the stream surged forward, dragging everything in its vicinity toward its depths. The soldiers waded deeper, pulling against the invisible grasp. The beast reeled, caught off guard, anger spilling from its monstrous jaws. Suddenly, the ethereal glow intensified like a lighthouse in the torment of stormy seas. Wisps of light began to ripple outward, turning the water into a kaleidoscope of colors that danced, reflecting their faces in distorted, haunting forms. "What is happening?" the sergeant gasped. Takumi felt the thrill of revelation grip him, intertwining with dread. The stream, was it a barrier or a trap? It felt sentient, alive, choosing which souls to consume. "It wants us." His mind raced. "It thrives on our fear. We need to fight it." The soldiers rallied, instinct kicking in. With newfound energy, they lunged toward the glowing pool, not in retreat but in defiance. They raised their voices together, harmonizing against the creature's roaring, channeling all their fear into a singular cry that echoed through the surrounding jungle. Let go of your fear. Takumi shouted, hoping to reach them. Join me. As the rumble of shouts rose, the beast hesitated, confused by this unexpected solidarity. Perhaps they did have a chance, perhaps the very essence of the stream could be turned against their foe, but just as hope ignited, the ground trembled violently. The beast roared, anger igniting every instinct within it. The watery glow flickered, pulsing heavily as if breathing in sync with their terror. The soldiers held firm, but doubt crept in, whispers winding through their hearts. They could perceive the monster's fury building, a tempest about to unleash itself. Was the stream truly their salvation, or had they stepped into the very jaws of their demise? As their voices crescendoed, Takumi felt the weight of fate bearing down on him. Could their unity ward off the nightmares? Or were they merely delaying the inevitable, setting themselves up for something darker? The sound of a crack echoed above, silencing their battle cry. A branch snapped, and he saw it, a movement in the dark above them, something far more horrifying than the beast. Look out! Takumi yelled, his voice swallowed by the suddenly oppressive silence. And before he could even process it, the jungle erupted once more. Branches splintered, leaves rustled violently, and suddenly, a new terror emerged from the shadows above. Takumi's heart jumped to his throat as the silhouette descended, a massive figure, entwined with darkness, its eyes glowing like two molten coals. The creature's presence rivaled that of the beast at the water's edge, and it seemed to exude an aura of sheer malevolence. Stay alert! Takumi shouted, his voice barely piercing the electrifying panic that gripped the soldiers. They looked up, faces pale and stricken with horror as they adjusted to this new threat looming over them. The ground beneath them shook, and the ethereal glow of the stream flickered again, as if recognizing the new player in this deadly game. What had they stumbled into? The jungle had awakened, and it was hungry. The beast at the water's edge took a step back, its snarls fading into a low growl as it regarded the newcomer. There was a moment of stillness, thick with anticipation, where even the voices of the jungle seemed silenced. What do we do? Matsuda's voice wavered, fear tightening its grip around him. Takumi glanced around, sensing the desperation weighing heavily on each soldier's shoulders. We fight. Together. Takumi shouted, feeling the fire of determination ignite in him once more. We can't let it break us. That's what it wants. As if in response, the creature above unleashed a shrieking wail that reverberated through the trees. It was a sound that clawed at the very fabric of sanity and twisted the air into a chilling blanket of foreboding. The soldiers shivered, but Takumi's voice cut through. Focus. We bind our fear with strength. Nothing can crush us if we stand united. This time, the soldiers echoed his rallying cry, their voices harmonizing into a collective roar. The beast below seemed agitated, uncertain, and for a fleeting moment, it appeared as if the light of the stream responded too, shimmering with vibrant energy that pulsed in sync with their fearlessness. But the creature above wasn't finished. It lunged down, huge claws slicing through foliage, leaving chaos in its wake. Water sprayed around as the beast at the edge of the stream charged forward, now caught in a frenzy from the other's movements. Instinct kicked in. Takumi positioned himself at the forefront, shouting commands even while terror clawed at his throat. He could see the soldiers responding to his lead, their fear morphing into a determined frenzy. They started flinging whatever they had, sticks, stones, and their voices, combining into a symphony of defiance. Attack! Takumi roared. A wave of courage washed over them as they charged toward both monsters. They would be the tide, unstoppable and fervent, against this nightmare rising before them, but as they fought against one, the second creature, monstrous and deceptive in its agility, surged above them, massive jaws snapping with an unholy hunger. It forced Takumi to turn, the woods blurring, as instinct overrode thought. The clash was relentless. Takumi felt his heart racing, blood pounding in his ears, but he couldn't lose focus. Danger loomed everywhere, a nightmare made flesh, and with every show of unity, he felt the stream pulse around them, a fickle ally in their time of need, then without warning, a blinding flash erupted from the stream, illuminating everything in its path. In that brief second, Takumi glimpsed a vision, an unexpected revelation layered within the chaos. Faces twisted in anguish floated above the rushing waters, reflections of lost souls craving justice, or perhaps revenge. "Don't look into it," he yelled, realizing too late the impact of his own words. It could ensnare minds, drawing them deeper into despair, yet, just as he grasped this overwhelming truth, something sharper pierced his awareness, the weight of the jungle pressing in, drowning their cries. The monsters were matched only by the terrors hidden beneath the surface of the water. "Fight back!" Takumi cried, but doubt wormed its way into his thoughts. What awaited beneath that glowing veil? Could they win against these horrors, or were they merely pawns in a larger game, destined to become offerings to an unseen power? The scream of the jungle harmonized with their fight, echoing their tragic plight, and the battle raged as revelations blurred with the severity of their circumstances. With all his strength, Takumi gritted his teeth, focused on the moment, but as the monsters converged upon them, he couldn't shake the feeling that the true horror had yet to reveal itself. Chaos reigned as Takumi and the soldiers fought back against the horrors unleashed in the jungle. The creatures' growls melded with the thunderous rush of the river, forming an eerie symphony of destruction. Yet in the heart of that turmoil, Takumi clung to a flicker of hope. "Stay close. We can break the spell," he screamed, rallying his comrades. Sweat dripped from their brows, blending with the threat of fear in the air. In that primal instant, the soldiers felt the sheer weight of despair trying to squeeze life from them. But with each determined breath, they pushed back against the shadows, defiance igniting in their chests. "Hurry! Focus on the light!" Takumi shouted, pointing toward the pulsating stream, its glow momentarily illuminating the carnage. But before they could dart toward it, the first beast lunged, sending debris flying. Takumi ducked just in time, heart racing as he saw Serafino stagger back. "Keep moving!" he yelled, urgency clawing at his throat. Matsuda threw a handful of rocks without hesitation, one striking the beast's eye. It howled, a sound that curdled blood and stoked fear, but the beast swatted away the pain and turned its gaze back upon them, hunger simmering behind those burning eyes. Then the second creature, still perched above, unleashed a terrifying screech, suffocating the air with dread. It was unlike anything they'd known, a lamentation echoing from the darkest corners of their collective nightmares. "Push through!" Takumi breathed, desperation thrumming through his veins as they pressed forward. They could see the pulsing light, their potential escape. The water hungered for blood, but it was also a weapon against their foes. The soldiers rallied, lending strength to one another. With resolute hearts, they formed a tight circle, moving as one toward the stream. Just as they reached the water's edge, Takumi felt a jolt run through him. A desperate desire surged from the depths. "It's now or never!" he shouted. "Jump!" In synchronized abandon, they plunged into the luminous current. Cold liquid enveloped them, pulling fiercely, but rather than panic, Takumi felt a wave of calm wash over him. The stream glimmered with hope, its radiant energy pushing away the fears that anchored them. The sinister growls faded into a distant hum, and for a moment, they could breathe. "We did it," Matsuda gasped, wide-eyed, tangled hair slicked back. "We're safe." Not quite. The second creature loomed over the water, colossal and unyielding, claws extending as shadows danced around it. It lunged down toward the river, ready to ensnare them once more. "Hold on!" Takumi yelled, feeling the pressure build. "The light, it's our weapon." He could feel the pulsing rhythm of the jungle synchronizing with their beating hearts. It was primal and ancient, a cycle of fear and hope entwined. "Channel it!" Serafino cried out, recalling the strength they'd harnessed together. Each soldier focused their energy, drawing from the stream's glow. Suddenly, the waters surged, rippling outward, and the beam of light shot skyward, cutting through the darkness around them. A chorus of voices echoed, the memories of the lost souls blending into one. "Let them go!" Takumi shouted, summoning every ounce of bravery. The stream thrashed, a fierce tide pushing against the beast emerging from above. With a deafening roar, it recoiled, howling against the power surging forth, and in that pivotal moment, Takumi felt a connection to each soldier, a bond forged through shared terror and exhilaration. Their fears transformed into strength. The jungle, in its twisted nature, could not quell this united front. Then came silence, thick and heavy, enveloping them like a shroud. Slowly, the jungle twitched and began to retreat, the dark entities wavering at the edges of the glade. A calm reverberated against the waters, washing away remnants of dread as dawn broke, spilling golden light across the horizon. Chest heaving, Takumi found his voice, hoarse yet upbeat. "We did it. We fought back." The soldiers, now drenched in light and newfound resolve, looked at one another. Spirits buoyed by the miraculous dawn. They had faced unimaginable horrors and emerged from the depths, together. "Remember, the jungle has eyes," Takumi said, an unfaltering hope radiating from him. "But we are stronger than our fears. Together, we built our own salvation." As the first light cast away the shadows of the night, gratitude washed over the group. Slowly, they made their way toward the path that had evaded them earlier. "Let us go home," Matsuda said, a smile breaking through the tension of the past hours. "We deserve to see a new day." With spirits renewed, they trekked forth, leaving behind the insatiable darkness, aware that the jungle would always remain alive and watchful, but they had faced it, counted its cost, and emerged not just as soldiers, but as survivors. The jungle might have tried to claim them, but it hadn't succeeded. The fight wasn't over, but they understood that they wouldn't have to face it alone. As they marched towards sunrise, Takumi whispered a silent promise to the unseen spirits of the jungle: "We will return, and when we do, we'll stand unafraid." The world ahead felt vibrant, no longer just a maze of shadows, but a life of possibility stretching before them. Each step echoed a lesson learned, that even in the darkest of places, unity and courage could carve paths toward freedom. And as they emerged from the wilderness, a chorus of new stories awaited, stories of hope woven through the fear, waiting to be told. This is it. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't wait even one more second to share your thoughts in the comments and connect with our community. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and spread the love. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this impressive conclusion. Your support truly matters.